Junho didn't believe in signs from the universe. He believed in power, control, and the cold logic of survival. At 36, he'd built an empire from nothing, a first-generation immigrant who'd turned desperation into dominance. His import-export business in Seattle was legitimate on paper, but everyone who mattered knew the truth. The waterfront warehouses, the cash flow through his Korean BBQ restaurants, the respect that came from fear rather than admiration, this was his kingdom. He'd left Korea with nothing but ambition and anger, and America had taught him that softness was a liability. 21 years old and alone in a country that didn't want him, he'd learned to be harder than the streets that tried to break him. Now, his penthouse overlooked Elliott Bay, his custom suits cost more than most people's monthly rent, and his name made grown men nervous. Junho had everything except a reason to care about any of it. Then, on a frigid November morning, he found a crayon drawing tucked under his windshield wiper. A stick figure with a sad face. 5 words in a child's handwriting. "You look lonely too." Junho stared at the drawing, rain beginning to spot the paper. His black Mercedes sat in the parking garage beneath his building. Private, secure, expensive. How had a child gotten in here? He should have crumpled it up. Should have called security. Instead, he folded it carefully and slipped it into his wallet, next to the business cards of people whose names he could barely remember. The second drawing appeared 3 days later. Same spot, same vehicle. This time it showed 2 stick figures, one big, one small, holding hands under a yellow sun. The caption read, "Everyone needs someone." Junho's jaw tightened. He looked around the empty garage, its fluorescent lights humming overhead. Nothing. No one. Just concrete pillars and the echo of his own footsteps. "Boss." His phone buzzed. Sang-min, his second-in-command. "The shipment from Busan cleared customs. We're good." "Fine." Junho ended the call, still holding the drawing. A 6-year-old's handwriting, he guessed. Maybe 7. The letters wobbled, some backwards. The sun had a smiley face. He kept that one too. On the 5th day, he waited. Arrived at his car earlier than usual, 5:37 a.m. instead of his usual 6 o'clock departure. The garage was dark except for the security lights, silent except for the distant drip of water from somewhere in the concrete depths. Then he heard it. A small sound. A rustling. Junho moved silently. Old habits from dangerous years. Behind a concrete pillar near the entrance ramp, he found her. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old. Deep brown skin, hair in 2 puffs tied with rubber bands that had seen better days. She wore a jacket 3 sizes too big, sleeves rolled up multiple times, and sneakers held together with duct tape. In her hands, a broken crayon box and another piece of paper. She froze when she saw him, eyes going wide. Beautiful eyes, he noticed. Expressive, and far too knowing for someone so young. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Junho realized he was looming over her, his 6-foot frame in a black coat probably terrifying. He took a step back, crouched down to her level. "You've been leaving me drawings," he said quietly. His English still carried the weight of his native Korean, consonants harder than they should be. She nodded slowly, clutching the paper to her chest. "Why?" The girl's voice came out barely above a whisper. "You always look sad. When you walk to your car, like you forgot how to smile." Something in Junho's chest tightened. He'd spent 15 years building walls around whatever part of him used to feel things. This child had seen through them in seconds. "Where are your parents?" She looked down. "Mommy's in heaven since last month." The words were matter-of-fact, but her small hands trembled. Junho recognized that tremble, had felt it himself at 21, standing in a Seattle homeless shelter, everything he'd known stripped away. "And your father?" "Don't got one. Never did." She met his eyes again, and he saw something that made his breath catch. Not fear exactly. Resignation. The look of someone who'd already learned that the world was cold and help wasn't coming. "Where are you staying?" She pointed vaguely toward the garage entrance. "Around." Around. The word hung between them, heavy with meaning. Seattle's November was unforgiving. Temperatures dropping to the 30s at night, rain constant, the kind of cold that seeped into your bones. "You're homeless," Junho said, not a question. She nodded. "The shelter was full. Lady said maybe next week. I'm okay, though. I found a place under the bridge that's kinda dry, and sometimes the restaurant on 4th Street throws away good food at night. She was 6 years old, 6, sleeping under a bridge, eating from dumpsters, and somehow still worried about a stranger who looked lonely. Jun-ho stood up, his mind racing. This wasn't his problem. He had a meeting in 2 hours with suppliers from Vancouver. He had shipments to track, money to move, an empire that required constant attention. A homeless child was a complication he didn't need. He looked at her again. Really looked. Her jacket was soaked through, had been for days probably. Her lips had a faint blue tinge. When had she last eaten? When had she last been warm? What's your name? Tiana. She held out the drawing she'd been clutching. I made you another one. It's you smiling. I thought, maybe if you saw it, you'd remember how. Jun-ho took the paper. The stick figure had a smile this time, big and curved, surrounded by stars. In the corner, in careful letters, you deserve to be happy too. He made a decision that would change everything. Tiana, he said slowly, have you eaten today? She shook her head. This week? A pause, another headshake. Come with me. Fear flashed across her face. I'm not supposed to. I'm not going to hurt you. Jun-ho surprised himself with how gentle his voice came out. I'm going to buy you breakfast, and then we're going to figure this out. Figure what out? How a 6-year-old ended up sleeping under a bridge in my city. She bit her lip. I'm not 6, I'm almost 7. Birthday's in January. Almost 7, he repeated. Even worse. Jun-ho held out his hand. Tiana stared at it for a long moment, clearly weighing her options. Trust a stranger, or go back to the cold bridge. Finally, her small hand slipped into his. Her fingers were ice cold. As they walked toward the garage exit, Jun-ho caught their reflection in a car window. A Korean man in a $3,000 coat and a tiny black girl in rags, hand in hand. His organization would think he'd lost his mind. His enemies would see it as weakness. He didn't care. Mr. Tiana looked up at him. I don't know your name. Jun-ho, he said, but you can call me. He paused. What did children call adults? You can call me Mr. An. Okay, Mr. An. She squeezed his hand slightly. Thank you for not being mean. That sentence, thank you for not being mean, told him everything about what her short life had been like. The baseline wasn't kindness, it was the absence of cruelty. As they stepped out into the gray Seattle morning, rain immediately soaking into their clothes, Jun-ho felt something he hadn't experienced in 15 years. Purpose. The IHOP on Pike Street had seen better days, but it was warm, and the waitress didn't bat an eye when Jun-ho walked in with a clearly homeless child. Seattle had taught him that small mercies existed in unexpected places. Order whatever you want, he told Tiana, sliding into a booth. She stared at the menu like it was written in a foreign language. Her hands left small wet marks on the laminated pages. I don't know. Her voice was small. What's not too expensive? Jun-ho felt that tightness in his chest again. Money isn't a concern. What do you like? I like. She bit her lip, thinking hard. I like pancakes. Mommy used to make them on Saturdays with bananas. Then you'll have pancakes with bananas. He caught the waitress's attention. Chocolate chip pancakes, extra bananas, extra whipped cream, orange juice, and scrambled eggs, bacon, hash browns. He glanced at Tiana. She'll have all of it. When the food arrived, plates overflowing, Tiana's eyes went enormous. She looked at Jun-ho, then at the food, then back at him. It's okay, he said quietly. Eat. She ate like someone who didn't know when the next meal would come. Fast, efficient, barely breathing. Jun-ho had eaten like that once in his first months in America, before he'd learned to take what he needed by force. He sipped his coffee and watched her. When she'd demolished half the pancakes, she finally slowed down, looking almost guilty. You can take the rest with you, Bart, he said, for later. Really? Hope lit up her face. Really? While she ate, he made calls. First to his assistant. Clear my morning. Then to Sang-min. I need you to find someone. Child services caseworker. Someone who actually gives a damn. I'll explain later. Sang-min's confusion was audible. Boss, are you... Just do it. Across from him, Tiana had syrup on her chin and something like peace in her expression. When had she last felt safe enough to simply eat? "Tiana," Junho said carefully, "tell me about your mother." The light dimmed in her eyes. She was sick, real sick. The medicine cost too much. We had an apartment, but then we didn't. She tried really hard, worked 2 jobs, but she kept getting sicker. Tiana's voice dropped. She didn't wake up one morning. The ambulance came. They said her heart gave up. And after, lady from the government came. Said I'd go to a foster home, but there wasn't space. Said I'd go to a shelter, but they were full too. I got scared they'd split me and Mummy up. She caught herself. I mean, her body. So I ran. I wanted to stay close. She's buried at that cemetery on the hill. I visit her sometimes. Junho absorbed this, his expression carefully neutral. Inside, something was breaking apart and reforming. This child had lost everything: mother, home, security, and her primary concern was staying near her mother's grave. "You've been alone for a month?" 5 weeks and 2 days. Tiana counted on her fingers. "I'm good at counting. Mummy taught me." 5 weeks, a 6-year-old surviving on Seattle streets for 5 weeks. "I have a proposal," Junho said, surprising himself with the words even as he spoke them. "You come stay with me temporarily until we figure something out." Tiana froze, fork halfway to her mouth. "Stay with you?" "I have space, a lot of space. Too much space, actually." His penthouse had 4 bedrooms he never used. You'd have your own room, regular meals, warmth. "But why?" Suspicion crept into her voice, a learned wariness. "What do you want?" "Smart girl. Too smart." "I don't want anything, except for you to not freeze to death under a bridge." "Are you a good person?" The question was direct, serious. Junho almost laughed. No one had asked him that in years. The answer was complicated. "I'm not a bad person, not to children, not to people who don't deserve it." "That's not really an answer." "No," he agreed. "It's not. But it's honest." Tiana studied him with those 2 wise eyes. Finally, "Okay, but just until the shelter has space. I don't want to be a bother." "You're not a bother. People always say that. But kids are always bothers eventually." That's what the foster lady said. The foster lady was wrong, Junho thought, but he didn't say it. Words meant nothing. Actions did. They left IHOP with a takeout box of pancakes and an unlikely agreement. In the parking lot, Junho made another call. "Jiwon, I need a favor." Jiwon Kim had been his friend since those first brutal years in Seattle. Now she ran a successful pediatric clinic in Koreatown. "Anything, Junho. What's wrong?" "I need a child checked out, medically. She's been living rough. About 6 years old. I don't know when she last saw a doctor." A pause. "You have a child?" "It's complicated. Bring her by this afternoon. I'll clear my schedule." The clinic visit revealed what Junho had suspected: malnutrition, mild dehydration, early stages of a respiratory infection. Nothing life-threatening, but evidence of a body slowly breaking down from neglect. "She needs antibiotics, regular meals, and warmth," Jiwon said quietly outside the exam room. "Also, Junho, what are you doing?" "I don't know yet." "You can't just take in a random child. There are laws, systems." "I know." "Do you?" Jiwon's expression was concerned. "This isn't like your business. You can't just decide something and make it happen through force of will. Watch me." Back in the exam room, Tiana sat on the paper-covered table, swinging her legs. Jiwon had given her a lollipop and a small stuffed bear. She clutched both like treasures. "Dr. Kim says you're going to be okay," Junho told her. "We just need to make sure you eat well and take some medicine. Will it taste bad?" "Probably." "That's honest." Tiana smiled slightly. "I like that you don't lie. Lying is for people who are afraid of the truth. Are you ever afraid?" The question caught him off guard. "Sometimes. Everyone is sometimes." "What are you afraid of?" Junho looked at this tiny person who'd somehow burrowed under his defenses in a matter of hours. "Right now. Failing you." Tiana's smile grew wider. "You won't. You bought me pancakes." As if pancakes were the measure of a man's character. Maybe to a 6-year-old who'd been starving they were. The first night, Tiana didn't sleep. Junho's penthouse was all glass and steel, modern furniture and empty spaces. The guest bedroom he'd prepared had a bed bigger than any she'd probably ever slept in, fresh sheets, and a view of Elliott Bay that cost more per square foot than most people's cars. She stood in the doorway, small and uncertain. "You don't like it," Junho observed. "It's really nice. Too nice. I'm scared I'll mess it up." "It's a room, Tiana. You can't mess it up." "I messed up lots of things before." Her voice was barely audible. "That's what the caseworker said. Too many problems." Junho crouched down to her level, something he found himself doing often now. "The caseworker was wrong. You're not a problem. You're a person. A small person who's had very bad luck." "Do you really believe that?" "Yes." She studied his face, looking for lies. Finding none, she nodded slowly. "I used to sleep with Mommy," she admitted, "when it got cold. We'd share blankets and she'd tell me stories about when she was little in Mississippi. I don't know how to sleep alone." Junho understood loneliness, understood the terror of darkness when you'd lost everything. "What if I stay just until you fall asleep?" Relief flooded her features. "Really? Really?" He sat in the chair by the window while she climbed into bed, still wearing the new pajamas he'd bought during an awkward shopping trip. Pink with stars. She'd chosen them herself after he'd insisted she could pick anything. "Mr. An," her voice came from the nest of blankets. "Yes? Why are you being nice to me?" The question again. He'd been asking himself the same thing. "I saw a girl who needed help. I'm helping. But people don't just help, not for nothing. Some people do. But you're not like them, I can tell. You're—" She struggled for words. "You're scary, but not to me. To other people. I saw how that lady at the store looked at you. Nervous. Perceptive. Dangerous, that. I'm a businessman. Some people find me intimidating." "What kind of business?" "Import-export. I bring things from Korea to America." "Like toys?" "Sometimes. Other things, too." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "My mommy said there are different kinds of strong. Some people are strong by being mean. Some people are strong by being kind even when it's hard. Which one are you?" Junho had no answer. He'd been the first kind for so long, he'd forgotten the second kind existed. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I'm figuring it out." "Me too." Tiana yawned. "Will you still be here when I wake up?" "Yes. Promise." "I promise." She fell asleep within minutes, exhaustion claiming her. Junho stayed in the chair, watching her small chest rise and fall. 15 years since he'd cared about another person's well-being. 15 years of cold pragmatism and calculated moves. One drawing on a windshield had undone all of it. His phone buzzed. Sang-min. Found a caseworker, Sarah Chen. Reputation for actually caring. Want me to set up a meeting? Yes, tomorrow. Boss. What are you doing? Something different. The days developed a rhythm. Mornings. Tiana would wake up and pad into the kitchen where Junho was already awake, drinking coffee and reading reports on his tablet. She'd climb into a chair too big for her and wait patiently for him to notice. He'd make her breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, fruit, simple things. He'd learned to cook for himself years ago, preferring not to rely on others. Now he cooked for two. "What are you reading?" she'd ask. "Boring business things." "Can I learn?" "When you're older." "How much older?" "Very much older." She'd wrinkle her nose. That's not a real answer. "No," he'd agree. "It's not." Sarah Chen visited on the 4th day. A woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a briefcase full of forms. She sat across from Junho in his living room, while Tiana colored at the kitchen table, deliberately out of earshot. "Mr. An," Sarah began carefully, "I understand you've taken in Tiana Williams." "Yes." "That's complicated. She's a ward of the state. There are procedures." "I'm aware." "Are you interested in becoming a foster parent?" The question hung in the air. Foster parent. The concept was foreign. He'd never imagined himself as any kind of parent, but looking at Tiana, bent over her coloring book with serious concentration, he couldn't imagine sending her back to a system that had already failed her. What would that require? Sarah pulled out forms. Background check. Home study, training classes, regular visits from caseworkers. It's intrusive, time-consuming, and given your business interests. She paused delicately. There would be scrutiny. Scrutiny I can handle. "Mr. An, I need to be direct. I've heard things about you. Your name comes with certain associations. The state won't place a child with someone involved in illegal activities. Junho met her eyes steadily. My businesses are legitimate. Import-export, restaurants, real estate. You're welcome to investigate thoroughly. It wasn't exactly a lie. Everything had paperwork. Everything was technically legal. The grey areas he operated in were grey for a reason. Invisible unless you knew where to look. Sarah studied him. Why her? Why now? Because she left me drawings saying I looked lonely. Because her mother died and the system failed her. Because she's been eating from dumpsters and sleeping under bridges and she's 6 years old. His voice hardened. Because someone should care what happens to her. And you care? Yes. Why? Junho glanced at Tiana. She'd drawn something elaborate, lots of colors, figures holding hands. I don't know, but I do. Sarah followed his gaze. She's attached to you already. I can see it. That's good and dangerous. If this doesn't work out, it will work out. You can't control everything, Mr. Ahn. Watch me. A small sound made them both turn. Tiana stood nearby, holding her drawing. I made this for you, she said to Sarah. It's you helping kids, because Mr. Ahn said that's your job. The drawing showed stick figures, one tall adult surrounded by many small children, all smiling. Stars and hearts filled the background. Sarah took it with gentle hands. Thank you, sweetheart. It's beautiful. You're going to let me stay with Mr. Ahn, right? Tiana's voice was hopeful but braced for disappointment. He's good. He makes me breakfast, and he doesn't yell, and he promised he'd teach me Korean words. Korean words? Sarah looked at Junho. Cultural education, he said neutrally. Sarah sighed. I'll start the paperwork. The transformation happened gradually, then all at once. Week 1. Tiana learned that food would always be there, that she could eat until full and there would still be breakfast tomorrow. The desperate edge in her eating slowly faded. Week 2. She started leaving drawings around the penthouse, on the refrigerator, on Junho's desk, taped to the bathroom mirror, stick figures with increasingly elaborate scenarios, picnics, adventures, always the two of them together. Week 3. She laughed for the first time, a real laugh, unguarded and bright. Junho had accidentally dropped an entire carton of eggs on the kitchen floor. Instead of getting angry, he'd stared at the mess and said something in Korean that was clearly a curse word. Tiana had giggled, then full-on laughed, and Junho had found himself laughing too. Week 4. She called him something other than Mr. Ahn for the first time. They were in the grocery store, a place Junho had rarely visited before, preferring delivery services. Now he was here every few days because Tiana needed specific things. Fresh fruit, the right cereal, yogurt in tubes because it made her smile. An older woman had stopped them in the produce section. Your daughter is adorable, she'd said to Junho. Before he could correct her, Tiana had grabbed his hand and beamed. Thank you, my daddy is teaching me Korean. The woman had smiled and moved on. Tiana had looked up at Junho, suddenly uncertain. Is that okay? That I said that? Junho's throat felt tight. Yes, it's okay. I know you're not really my daddy. Sometimes I pretend. He crouched down right there in the produce aisle, apples and oranges surrounding them. Tiana, family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up, who stays. Are you gonna stay? Yes. Forever? Forever. Her smile could have lit up the entire store. Then I'm gonna call you Daddy, if that's okay. That's okay. That night, Junho made a decision. He called his attorney, a man who specialized in making impossible things possible. I want to adopt her. Full legal adoption. What do I need to do? The process was bureaucratic and invasive. Home studies where strangers walked through his penthouse making notes. Background checks that came back clean enough. His lawyers had ensured his legal business held up under scrutiny. Character references from people like Jiwon and his restaurant managers. The hardest part was the questions. Why do you want to be a father? The social worker asked during one particularly grueling interview. Because there's a little girl who needs one. Because she saw something in me that I'd forgotten was there. Because when she calls me Daddy, I want it to be real. You're a single man with demanding business interests. Fatherhood is a significant commitment. I'm aware. Are you prepared to put her needs above your own? to sacrifice your lifestyle. Jun-ho thought about his old life. The late nights, the calculated violence, the emptiness that money and power couldn't fill. My lifestyle needed sacrificing anyway. During this time, Tiana was flourishing. She'd started attending a private elementary school near the penthouse. Jun-ho had enrolled her with a generous donation that ensured no questions were asked about her unusual circumstances. Her teacher reported that she was bright, curious, and eager to learn. Behind in some areas due to missed schooling, but catching up fast. At home, their routines solidified. Mornings, breakfast together, then school. Afternoons, homework at the kitchen table while Jun-ho worked on his laptop nearby. Evenings, dinner, sometimes Korean food that he'd teach her to eat with chopsticks, sometimes soul food that she'd teach him to appreciate, then reading together before bed. The reading had been Tiana's idea. "Mommy used to read to me." "Can you?" Jun-ho had never read children's books. He stumbled through them awkwardly at first, his accent making some words come out strange. Tiana would correct him gently, patiently. "It's through, Daddy, not true." "Through," he'd repeat, focusing on the th sound that English demanded. "Better." She taught him about her heritage too, explained why her hair needed special care, oils and gentle handling, showed him the YouTube videos her mother had used. Jun-ho learned to help her with her puffs, his large hands surprisingly gentle as he worked. "You're getting good at this," Tiana said one morning as he finished her hair. "I have a good teacher. Mommy would like you. She always said the best people are the ones who try hard even when things are difficult." "Your mommy was a wise woman." "Yeah, she was." Tiana's voice went quiet. "I miss her." "I know, that's okay. You're allowed to miss her." "Do you miss anyone?" The question caught him off guard. "Yes, my mother, my sister. They're in Korea. I haven't seen them in many years." "Why not?" "It's complicated. That's what adults say when they don't want to explain." "You're right." Jun-ho set down the hair tie. "I left Korea because I was ashamed. I'd failed at everything I'd tried. Coming to America was supposed to be a new start, but I was so angry for so long that I never went back. Now I don't know if I can." "Maybe now you can, because you're not angry anymore. You're happy. I can tell." Was he happy? Jun-ho examined the feeling. Yes. For the first time in 15 years, he was genuinely happy. "Maybe you're right." That weekend, he took Tiana to the cemetery. They stood at her mother's grave, a modest headstone that Jun-ho had quietly upgraded, adding flowers and a small angel statue that Tiana had chosen. "Hi, Mommy," Tiana said softly. "I brought someone to meet you. This is my daddy. His name is Jun-ho. He's from Korea. He takes really good care of me. I think you'd like him." Jun-ho felt an unexpected pressure behind his eyes. "Mrs. Williams," he said quietly, "I promise you that Tiana is safe, loved. She'll never be hungry or cold or scared again. I'll make sure she grows up strong and kind, the way you wanted." Tiana slipped her hand into his. "Daddy's gonna adopt me, for real. The lawyer said so." "That's right. So you'll be my daddy forever, even when I'm grown up. Even then." On the drive back, Tiana was uncharacteristically quiet. Finally, "Daddy, can I ask you something?" "Always." "That first day when you found me in the garage, why did you help, really?" Jun-ho considered his answer carefully. "Because you saw me, really saw me. Not my money or my reputation or the things people say about me. You saw a lonely person and tried to make him feel less alone. No one had done that in a very long time. So I helped you too? Yes, you saved me, Tiana. I just didn't know I needed saving." The adoption hearing was scheduled for a grey January morning, Tiana's 7th birthday. Jun-ho had wanted to wait, to do something special for her birthday separately, but Tiana had insisted. "It's the best present ever, being your daughter for real." They dressed carefully, Jun-ho in a suit. Though he'd left the top button undone and skipped the tie, Tiana said ties made him look too serious. Tiana in a new dress she'd picked herself, purple with sparkles, her hair done in the elaborate style that had taken Jun-ho 3 YouTube tutorials to master. In the courthouse, Sarah Chen met them with encouraging smiles. "The judge is fair. I've explained your situation. Everything should go smoothly. And if it doesn't, Junho's voice was calm, but his hand tightened on Tiana's. It will. You've done everything right. The home studies were excellent. Tiana's thriving. Her school reports are glowing. You have character references from doctors, teachers, business partners. There's no reason to deny this. Still, Junho felt tension he usually only experienced during dangerous business negotiations. This mattered more. Everything that mattered was in this courthouse. The hearing itself was surprisingly brief. The judge, a woman in her 60s with reading glasses and a kind expression, reviewed the paperwork, asked Tiana a few gentle questions. "Do you want Mr. Ahn to be your father?" "Yes." Tiana's voice rang out clearly. "More than anything. And why is that?" "Because he keeps his promises, and he makes me feel safe, and he learned how to do my hair even though it's really hard, and he reads to me every night, and he says it's okay that I still miss my mommy, and he's teaching me Korean words, and he loves me, I can tell." The judge looked at Junho. "Mr. Ahn, do you understand that adoption is permanent? That you're accepting full responsibility for this child's welfare, education, and future? Yes, Your Honor. That you're committing to put her needs above your own, to be present, engaged, and devoted. I've been doing that for 3 months already. I intend to continue for the rest of my life. This will change everything about your life. Your freedom, your flexibility, your priorities. It already has. I'm grateful for the changes." The judge studied them both. This unlikely pair, Korean man and black child, bonded by circumstance and choice. Finally, she smiled. "Then, by the power vested in me by the state of Washington, I grant this adoption. Tiana Williams will henceforth be known as Tiana Ahn. Congratulations. You're officially a family." Tiana launched herself at Junho, wrapping her arms around his neck. He caught her easily, holding her close, and felt her tears soaking into his collar. "We're a real family now, Daddy." "We were always a real family. Now we just have the paperwork to prove it." Outside the courthouse, Ji-won was waiting with a cake. Sang-min had arranged for a small celebration at Junho's favorite Korean restaurant, private room, carefully vetted guests, people who'd watched this transformation with varying degrees of amazement. "Speech!" someone called out. Junho stood, Tiana on his hip despite her insistence that she was too big to be carried. 3 months ago I thought I knew what success looked like. Money, power, respect through fear. Then a 6-year-old left a drawing on my windshield that said I looked lonely. She was right. I'd spent 15 years building walls, and she walked right through them with crayons and honesty. He looked at Tiana. "You taught me that strength isn't about being hard. It's about being brave enough to care. Thank you for choosing me. I promise to spend every day earning that choice." Tiana hugged him tighter. "You already earned it, Daddy." The celebration continued, Korean food mixing with birthday cake, laughter filling the private room. Junho watched Tiana charm his associates, her natural warmth melting even the hardest hearts in his organization. Later, at home, after the cake and presents and excitement, Tiana grew quiet. They sat together on the couch, the Seattle skyline glittering beyond the windows. "What are you thinking about?" Junho asked. "I was thinking about my other daddy, the one I never met." "What about him?" "I used to be sad that he wasn't around, but now I think maybe it happened that way so you could be my daddy instead. Is that wrong?" "No, that's not wrong. That's finding meaning in difficult things. Your mother would be proud of how you think. Do you think she knows? About you? About us? If she can see us, then yes. I think she knows you're safe and loved. I think she'd be grateful." Tiana nodded slowly. "I think so too." She pulled something from her pocket, a folded piece of paper, worn soft from handling. "This is the first drawing. The one I left on your car. You kept it, right?" Junho pulled out his wallet, opened it. The drawing was still there, tucked behind his driver's license. Faded now, one corner torn, but carefully preserved. "I'll always keep it," he said. "It's the most important thing I own." "Why?" "Because it's the moment everything changed, the moment I started becoming someone worth being." Tiana took his hand. "You were always worth being. You just needed someone to show you." 7 years old, and wiser than most adults he'd known. That night, after Tiana fell asleep, Junho sat at his desk and made a call he'd been avoiding for 15 years. The time difference meant it was afternoon in Seoul. Iomioni? His voice cracked slightly. It's Junho. His mother's gasp echoed across the ocean. Adil, my son. After so long. I know. I'm sorry. I was. Lost. Angry. Ashamed. And now? Now I'm found. Iomioni, I have a daughter. I adopted her. Her name is Tiana. She's 7 years old, and she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I want you to meet her. I want to come home if you'll have me. His mother's tears were audible. We never stopped waiting. Come home, Adil, bring our granddaughter. Let us be family again. After the call, Junho sat in the darkness, processing. 15 years of separation, healed by a child's love. Everything he'd run from, everything he'd built, everything he'd become. All of it had led to finding Tiana in a parking garage, leaving him drawings about loneliness. He pulled out his phone and looked at his favorite photo. Tiana on adoption day, holding her official certificate, grinning so wide her joy was contagious. His daughter, his family, his redemption. The Korean mafia boss who'd believed in nothing but power had learned the greatest power was love. The elementary school auditorium buzzed with parents and excitement. Tiana's second-grade class was performing their winter concert, and Junho sat in the front row, phone ready to record. Ji-won sat beside him, smiling. Never thought I'd see the day. Junho An at a school concert. Things change, he said simply. They certainly do. How's the business? Good. Different. I've been restructuring, focusing on legitimate operations. Tiana deserves a father who doesn't have to look over his shoulder. That's a big change. She's worth it. The lights dimmed. Children filed onto stage in their holiday outfits. Tiana spotted Junho immediately and waved enthusiastically, momentarily forgetting she was supposed to be professional. He waved back, not caring who saw. She sang with everything she had, slightly off-key but full of joy. Her hair was done in 2 puffs with red ribbons, her dress new and carefully chosen, healthy, happy, thriving. After the concert, she ran to him. Did you see me? Did you record it? Every second. Can we send it to Halmioni? She'd been learning Korean, practicing with his mother via video calls. The visit to Seoul had gone better than Junho had dared hope, his family falling in love with Tiana instantly, embracing her as their own. Already sending it. They walked to the car hand in hand, Tiana chattering about the concert, her friends, her upcoming science project. Junho listened to every word, storing away these moments like treasures. In his wallet, the original drawing remained, faded and worn, a reminder of the day a homeless girl had seen a lonely man and decided to care. She'd written that he looked lonely. She'd been right, and then she'd fixed it.